Ready, sir? Okay.
All right, so thank y'all for having me. I'm sorry I'm in and out of town a lot right now. Trying to get back to Tallahassee. We're gonna be back up there, we know, on the 20th on redistricting and property tax. I know that's an exciting subject for everybody in this room as it's coming through. I can tell you there's a lot of work to be done, but we still don't know what the final product's gonna be. We've put ours over to the Senate, but we haven't heard anything back. So we think this week is going to be really, really good for us while we're there to try to get this done in the redistricting that the governor has asked for as part of what we're doing.
Speak into the microphone.
A couple of things that I also want to bring up, and then I'll open it up for questions because I don't need 10 to 15 minutes unless you really want to hear. I'd love to come back after we get session done.
Yes.
And then we can really talk about the nuts and bolts of what's going on. But two bills I'm very proud to be a part of, or three bills actually. Last year, I ran the bill to name Palm Beach Boulevard President Donald J. Trump Boulevard.
Yep.
So we got that done. This year, I was co-sponsor of President Donald J. Trump Airport. We got that done. Two bills that came home though for me, one was the Sharia Law and making sure that we did not have that affecting the state of Florida.
Yep.
So we worked hard on that. And lastly, domestic violence is something that I have a Democrat, so we wanted to do something that was unified, that had been through a domestic violence situation. And this is not party related, it's how do we make sure that we protect those victims. So we have started a pilot program in Pinellas County that if you are a multiple offender, then you will all of a sudden be wearing an ankle bracelet that will let the person know if you are within the distance that the judge has given. We've had a few murders here lately, if you haven't seen, where multiple offenders have came back. I usually have a butterfly on me that's for a young lady that was murdered by her father. That came in because he couldn't get to the mother. So we were very, very proud. There's a lot of other things that are in it. Just know that me and Ms. Deborah Tendrich are going to be working together a few more years on this because, again, this is such a bipartisan support and making sure that we have no issues that come across with that. With that, again, property tax, I'll answer what I can, but please know we don't even know what the bill's going to look like right now because we don't know what the Senate's going to agree to. Same thing with redistricting. I haven't seen the maps yet because I'm not on that committee. I'm on the property tax committee. So I'll sit back and just kind of hear what y'all think, what you need. I know we've got an appointment coming up soon to look at some clean water stuff, and hopefully me and Ms. Janine are going to sit down soon and get to pick up what's going on around Punta Gorda. Even though it's not my district, it still touches, and we need to all make sure we stay in line. And I think I might have an appropriation or two I'm gonna run for y'all next year. So so that'll be good stuff. But I'll open it up. Anybody have any questions?
Well, I'm going to start out. The Sharia Law has been passed, but what is the perspective, or what is your perspective on extending that to limit our culture, our Islamic Culture Center and mosque in the state of Florida? Because these are the breeding grounds for terrorist cells. That's where they start.
I'm gonna disagree. They start at colleges.
They start at colleges.
That's where we see them the most.
In the classroom.
So do we have anything that could put a stop to them forming these organizations in colleges? We have already banned CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood,
Right.
but that's where they operate in schools and the culture center, mosques, and
So this is where we need a little help. I don't know how or why it didn't get heard. My understanding was it didn't get heard in the Senate, but Rep. Cassell had a bill that specifically said we're not going to tell you you're a terrorist organization, we're not going to tell you we're looking at you, but if we are looking at you, you get automatically brought in. Somebody under the governor is the director of terrorist organizations to where we can now start funneling through these programs. Somehow or another it didn't pass. So we're going to work very, very hard. I've already spoken with Rep. Cassell, told her I wanted to be a part of that next year because we need to get ahead of what's going on.
yes,
It's a very fine line that we need to remember. Whether we're right or we're wrong, there's 24 million people in the state of Florida, not everybody agrees. And we have to find a way to bridge the gap for them to understand we're not trying to infringe on your religious rights. We're not trying to infringe. If you are a peaceful religion, then we don't have a problem. It's where we're going through and what we're seeing that happened in Israel. We do not want to see happen on our own. Plain and simple. So that's what we're going to continue to fight for. I know that may not specifically answer your question.
It's very
Know that
good,
it's
but it
a
is
conversation that is being had in Tallahassee.
Perfect.
Definitely. Yes, sir.
A comment on that, and I didn't think much of it. Thank you, Dan. I didn't think much of it when I heard it 25, 30 years ago. But the Muslims have had a plan to take over this planet. And it's a very simple plan. And I heard them talking about it, and it seemed bizarre at the time. It seemed like, wow, this could never happen. And it started in the classroom. It started with education. It started very small. It started in every single neighborhood. And the interesting thing is, you know, we weren't aware of it as it happened. And the very simple, basic difference that a lot of us don't understand, if you happen to be a Shinto, or you happen to be Jewish, you happen to be Christian, you know, part of our faith is we share our faith with other people, and we try to get them to accept our belief and welcome them to what we believe in our faith. And if they don't, we accept that. When the Muslim attempts to get you involved in his faith and you reject it, if you look at Sharia law, the answer is very simple. It's really clear cut. You get beheaded. It's as simple, and I can't define it any simpler than that. You convert or you die. And basically, you know, we can look at the Crusades, we can look at both sides, we can look back. You know, if you're biblical people, you don't have to be a scholar, but this all started when the two tribes separated. And I'll just add this just because it's funny. I had a couple of Muslims in my office, and one swore he was a Muslim Christian because he believed in Christ as a teacher. And, you know, my thing with them, if you guys kill all the Jews, where are you going to shop? Because all the Muslims I knew went to the kosher meat market, so I could never understand that. But, you know, it's an unfortunate thing. But the reality, particularly when you look at the people of a strong faith, either you convert or you die.
That's right.
So I think most of us know that. Thank you.
Yeah, when I was in Israel back in October, beginning of November, that was the first thing they told us. And I can tell you there's 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel right now and live in full peace. It's not the Palestinians that they're against. It is Hamas.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
ISIS. Hezbollah.
A lot of they were happy coming in and out of Israel, working every day.
Well, they used to do it right out of the Gaza Strip.
Yep.
Until that was taken care of. So, yes,
Anybody
ma'am.
else, Kathy?
Well, I grew up in Michigan, and Dearborn wasn't too far away. And Dearborn was not too far away from where I grew up. And I said this before, probably a lot of people heard me say this. I remember my first apartment out of high school, and a Muslim was walking across the courtyard in his garb with his red and white, whatever, in his white gown. And my girlfriend was over, it was a Friday night, we were gonna have a party, and she's like, oh my God, who is that? We gotta go see what that is. And this was in 1977, I believe. And that was with the first experience of them starting to come over that we witnessed. And I remember them saying, people saying, you know, because we were all like talking, like, oh my God, what's going on? And I remember them, there was Chaldeans, and they kept saying the Chaldeans, they're really good people, they're, you know, they're nice, they're the nice ones. And then, you know, they just different ones kept coming. And now you can't read a sign when you go through Dearborn. It's just, it looks like total ghetto.
Old Dearborn, my Fort
Well,
Charlotte.
it's written in Arabic. Arabic,
Yeah.
most of it.
And, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on what I witnessed.
So if I can turn that into a question, perhaps, even though I'm not a journalist or anything, but how would you work with the legislator to turn that into something like, we need all signs to be in English only? I mean, we have signs in Florida that are in Spanish as well. And as an immigrant into this country, if I were to approach you and say, I want the signs to be in Danish as well, you'd look at me like I had three heads. Why would you wanna do that? Everything should be in English. How could we work with that? Like learn the language or adios amigo.
I'm with you. I'm with you, and you're
We had
seeing
a
that
fight
now.
In the eighties, we tried to make it.
Well, we see it when you have to now take your test to be a truck driver. It's in
Right.
English. It's gonna be hard to be in Miami, where we've established, the Cuban population so heavily, that we say we're gonna take this away that's already there. I'm not gonna say it can't happen. I'm saying that would be a fight. And I don't wanna see it all over the state, but if you're gonna have populated areas that have both, like Miami,
That's a different country.
yes,
No, it's different.
Miami's just different.
Make it part of
When they
the United States, because they
us
come
first.
here because they want a better country, they want freedoms, learn the language, show respect for this
I
country.
am with you, but we also have to get industry that's gonna do the same thing, right? This all kind of blew up when all of a sudden you see banks that you can look at your account in English or Spanish. And then you start looking other way, do you want it in English or Spanish? So we
We're
kind of
Danish.
curtail it. Yes, sir.
In
Richard.
1980, when the Marilitos came in, okay, I lived in South Florida. They were living underneath the interstate highway. And back then, you had an influx of Hispanics. Since then, they've had 46 years, those that came ashore then, 46 years to learn to speak English.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
It's kind of like, if you want to assimilate
Right.
in a country or a community, you'll learn the customs and the language. And we are copying, we're not doing what we should be doing. We are Americans, our language is English.
Right.
Everybody that ever came here before learned to speak English and they assimilated it into our culture. We're not requiring that anymore, and that's where we're failing.
That's
We are
right.
failing that very reason, because we're not requiring people to assimilate.
I am, and we are like-minded people in this room. What I want to remind everybody in this room of when we think about the legislature, even though we have a super majority, right? When you start looking at MPAs that are very instrumental in what we're trying to do and be accomplished to stay in office, and then the Democrats who come through, normally an MPA on a social issue like that would say, what's the harm? Whereas we as Republicans are like, well, here's the harm. So,
I think we have Ken.
yes. How much time do we have, by the way?
Let's do another 5 minutes, because then we want to introduce.
Two things. English is not our official language. Until Congress, in the United States Congress, changes and makes an official amendment to our Constitution and everything else, we can have whatever language we want. I don't agree with that, but that's the way it is. And so we're still gonna get multiple languages with multiple cultures until we dictate the fact, and I hate to use that word, but dictate the fact that English is the official language. They're slowly making some progress in regards to finally, as an example, truckers, because they're finding out that, this is coming back to bite them.
Right.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. We don't have an official langue in this country.
Well,
Commissioner, before you go,
Official.
hold on, before you go, you had asked the question, if you're done.
No, no.
Okay.
Okay, I was just gonna say that two things. We lived in Miami for like 37 years. We lived successfully without him speaking much Spanish at all, and me speaking a little bit. But the Cubans in Miami are heavy Trump
Yes, they are.
Republican. I would not bother them, because they all speak, when they get out of high school, they all speak English.
I think we have
But,
bigger
yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we need, and the other thing is, we have a library in Northport. We went to the library, we could check out our books in Spanish, English, or Ukrainian.
yes, Northwood.
They're not yelling death to America either.
Well, the Cubans are not yelling death to
When the-
America either, that's for sure.
When the Continental Congress met, when they met on the Constitution, a vote was taken. And this, when I try to impress people how important one vote is, and the Congress voted by one vote to make the official language. I'll put it in quotes because we never voted on it. But at that time, English won by 1 vote over Germany, and that was the Continental Congress. And the other 1 vote, when you want to think how important 1 vote is, Hitler took control of Germany by 1 vote. Interesting.
You're right.
You wanted to say something, ma'am?
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, in Miami, more people speak English than you know. They just don't want to speak English.
Well, and that neighborhood says-
I lived there for 47 years. I know exactly how it goes.
That doesn't bother me, that's the people that
So,
want to kill us.
I wanna leave you with this, because what you're about to hear is far more important than anything I've said. Something that's important that hasn't been talked about. In my first year in the legislature, I'm very proud to say we cut $3 billion from the budget. It's the first time it's ever happened in the state of Florida. $3 billion. This year, between the House and the Senate, we're about $1.5 billion apart. We're still looking at $1 billion to $1.5 billion reduction from last year's budget. So we are trying to get money back into your pockets to the best of our ability, but we got a lot of work left to do. So know that we're up there fighting. I want to keep you in line, we keep you in understanding what's going on. Not in line, keep you in understanding what's going on. And my hope is you'll have me back when we get done with session, so we can really talk about where the budget ended, kind of what's going on, if we're gonna have a property tax or not, hitting the Constitution, or we're gonna have redistricting or not. We'll be able to have more tangible stuff to talk about if you'd be okay with that. So thank you so much for giving me some time.
Thank you so much.